Test. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Madungan ako ninyo? Good?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We will start our discussion this morning. We will be discussing two chapters today. Let me share my screen. Unfortunately, for those who are here, hopefully next meeting you will be able to use that. Yeah, I wasn't again.
Leopas.
Last time na discussion kay reformat mong ko ang slide ko nawala. Katong akong record ba nga dili klaro kay nagulan. Napalit ako mic, pero ang napalit ako ang mic naguba ako ang board sound card. Napo ginahulat ni. Alright, we'll be discussing an interesting topic this morning. We have 45 minutes to go. Hopefully, we can survive. Let me share my screen. So, I hope that you already had checked your attendance sa Moodle, okay? For those of you who are here, what's your attendance there? Let me check your attendance first. Dila ha, ma-check sa attendance din sa residential, basta malimot ko. Residential. Today is November 3. Oh, si Des, na-check yung attendance, wala gaya. Sada, pinahan na to. Present, dari o. Ito na-check yung attendance. Dindo, Agate. Don Mark, Abilo. Leslie, wala. Rudy, Katani, wala. Christina, Diola. Iva. Benrad. Eliza. Madeline. Anna Pearl. Kadibo, wala. Raul. Okay, good. Where is Des? Present, wala din eh. Kasi nasa Zoom. Residential ha, ito mo din sa classroom. Hindi nga nabi ako ninyo. Ha? Hindi na ako sa kanya. Okay, can you see the screen now, online students?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. All right, our topic for today is entitled Laws and Policies on Violence and Discrimination of the Members of LGBTQ+. Okay. Now, most of these I will be reading because these are laws. So I will be reading and I will be expounding this to you. Okay. So this our lesson objective for today is determine the various. So this lesson discusses salient Philippine laws and policies for protection and rights of LGBTQ+. Also, and I think, yeah, I had already discussed last time, right, the LGBTQ+, and during the online. Also, it explains anti-discriminatory laws. Okay, so these are laws, policies, as well as anti-discriminatory laws. Last time we had learned about prejudice, stereotyping, and discrimination. What is discrimination again? Stereotyping is overgeneralization. Discrimination is what? In a simple term? Negative behavior, or how do you call it? Judgmental attitude. Okay, so this is just discrimination. So we will, at the end of this class, we should be able to determine the various Philippine laws and policies for protection and rights of LGBTQ+, identify different discriminatory laws and policies, and know the acts leading to violations of these laws and policies. So these are our definition of terms. Equal protection means requires that all persons or things similarly situated should be treated alike, both as to the rights conferred and the responsibilities imposed. So I believe there's dignity to be human. When God created all of us, God created us all equal. Oh, there's a beginning. Once present. Okay. What's this? So all of us, when God died on the cross, the ground, the level is equal. The Lord Jesus Christ died for all of us. And there's also due process. These are principles that the government must respect all of a person's legal rights, as this ensures that all laws and legal proceedings must be fair and equal for all. Before judgment, before verdict will be given, right? There's always a due process. And everything is processed, everything is made clear that everything, all of its the decision would be fair and gone through a process. Now, our 1987 Constitution, we have this equal protection and due process clause. And what are stipulated here? The 1987 Philippine Constitution as the fundamental, this is the fundamental law of the land. We have a Philippine Constitution. This was the framework of this was done last 1987. Now they're planning, they're trying to change the Constitution, right? Because we are wanting, the present government is wanting to shift to federalism. I don't know when that would happen. So we have the 1987 Constitution, guarantees equality, lawful processes, and paramount consideration on ensuring human dignity and respect for human rights. So these are the two terms that our Constitution looks up to ensure human dignity and then respect for human rights. During your exam, I had asked you to enumerate human rights stipulated in the Constitution. Now, right to, what's this, right to life, right to liberty, so and so. And this provision serves as the basis for protection of the members and rights of the LGBTQ+. So the 1987 Philippine Constitution states that the state values the dignity of every human person and guarantees full respect for human rights. Apart from this, the 1987 Constitution enshrines in its due process and equal protection clauses that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. So this was the human rights, right? Nor shall any person denied equal protection of the laws. Article 3, Section 1, 1987 Philippine Constitution. So to ensure human dignity, respect for human rights. So violence and discrimination. Now there's widespread anecdotal evidences of crimes perpetrated against the LGBTQ plus community, also here in the Philippines. And most of this data have not undergone verification or collation. Now in March 2016, the Trans Murder Monitoring Project listed 41 reported cases of transgender being murdered in the country since 2008. And I think the recent one that is very much popular is the, you still remember the Pemberton case, right? And he was just given a presidential pardon amnesty just a few months ago. Now later on, if we have some more time, I'll be asking you to give you a judgment regarding that case. So violence and discrimination against LGBT. So meron pa. Okay. Yeah. So violence and discrimination against LGBT plus youth in education. So we are in an educational setting, so we'll try to scope that to our level. Violence and discrimination against LGBTQ plus youth in education. Republic Act 10 10627, Anti-Bullying Act of 2003, states, includes gender-based bullying as a prohibited and punishable act. Okay, so this is stipulated in our Constitution, gender-based bullying. And gender-based bullying is defined as any act that humiliates or excludes a person on the basis of perceived or actual sexual orientation and gender identity. And this is where SOGI comes in. SOGI, S-O-G-I, means sexual orientation and gender identity. And later on, we'll take a look at what is SOGI law. So that's Anti-Bullying Act of 2013. And then we have Child Protection Policy of 2012. In case where the bullying is committed by the principal, or teacher or any school personnel, the law being violated is Department of Education Order number 40 on Child Protection Policy. This policy includes the protection of students from any form of violence, regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identity. So you have our Anti-Bullying Act. You also have Child Protection Policy, especially stipulated by the Department of Education. Okay, any form of violence, okay, regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identity, especially among the educational sector. And letter C, Special Protection of Children Against Child Abuse, Exploitation and Discrimination Act of 1992, Anti-Child Abuse or Act Republic of 7610. So parents of children who suffer abuse at the hands of teachers or members of the school's administration violates RA 7610 or Anti-Child Abuse. Such cases can cover instances of what? Physical, psychological injury or cruelty on the basis of the child's SOGI or sexual orientation and gender identity. Right now, we also have, so we discuss discrimination in the education sector. Let's take a look in the workplace, violence and discrimination against LGBTQ plus in the workplace. So we have the educational sector, education, and then let's take a look at the workplace. What are the laws that have been stipulated here in our Constitution? We have the Labor Code of the Philippines, PD 442. So the Labor Code is a national law covering the private sector in the Philippines. Private sector meaning private institutions. So just like our school, this is a private institution, private college. With the exception of prohibition against discrimination of women, it does not contain any provision that prohibits discrimination on the basis of gender identity, particularly on the members of LGBTQ. Nonetheless, so there is no clear mandate in the Philippine Constitution that prohibits discrimination. Sa ating Constitution, there is no clear mandate sa private sector that prohibits discrimination, especially to the LGBTQ+. But nonetheless, while the law is quite gender identity expression, it is clear that the declaration of policy, okay, and we have this statement, and it's quite clear from this statement that it's understandable that the prohibition of discrimination is under this statement. It says, state shall afford protection to labor, promote full employment, and ensure equal work opportunities. So even though there is no this straightforward statement on the prohibition on discrimination on the LGBTQ, but then we have this statement to ensure equal work opportunities, and that transcends all gender. Now, clearly, the mandate for equal opportunity in employment is clear. But then, we're going to look at what is happening, but the reality quite gives us a different picture. Since the LGBTQ plus encounter hardship in assessing work opportunities because of discrimination, actually, this is happening, right? The absence of national law that explicitly prohibits discrimination on the basis of gender identity makes it clear for employers to hide behind fabricating reasons for not accepting, firing, or depriving members of the LGBTQ plus of their employment benefits. So I think, yeah, this is happening since, the private employers would just say that since there's no exact prohibition, so they will just do as they please. But that this is not the case, should be the case. Often policies on uniform documents and use of comfort rooms are against, let's skip this. Now, so we have the labor code. Second is CSC number 010940, the Civil Service Commission on Policy on Anti-Sexual Harassment. So the policy is important because it explicitly covers the regulatory remarks regarding sex, sexual orientation, or other remarks that are used as a description of a person with the intention to insult. In addition, this policy for government agencies does not require the offender has moral ascendancy over the victim. And lastly, we have, we just skip it. Now to summarize this, the Philippines has various anti-discriminatory policies for the LGBTQ+, but yet these laws are not sufficient. Are not yet sufficient on a national law for anti-discrimination is still wanted. So we have cases in the Supreme Court that involves topics and issues about LGBTQ+ community, making this matter high importance. Nonetheless, the rampancy of discrimination among LGBTQ+ is prevalent, and yeah, this is a prevalent issue today. But I think today it is being much more, our country is much more accepting to
Sir,
these individuals, but yet we have to
question, sir.
take a look at these policies and laws. Now, our second subject is discrimination on the basis of orientation, sexual orientation, and gender. So
Sir,
our objectives are to understand the issues of human rights, violations, and discrimination on the basis of SOGI. SOGI is sexual orientation, gender identity, and LEC. It's later. Understand the impact of human rights, violations, and discrimination to the Filipino society. And lastly, formulate activities and programs to address these human rights violations and discrimination on the basis of the SOGI law. So we have this definition of terms. SOGI, an acronym for sexual orientation, gender identity and expression, and IDEA expression. So sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression, ng SOGI. Aspects of gender of persons which must be considered and given attention to. So So these are aspects of gender that needs attention. And we have the anti-discriminatory bill, a proposed legislation before the Philippine Congress intended to prevent various economic and public accommodation related acts of discrimination against people based on their SOGI. So we have this anti-discriminatory bill. Because we are all equal. Each one is entitled with his own dignity. And we have the Universal Policy, Article 2-1, 3, and 26 of the Convention provide for the respect, equality. So respect, equality, non-discrimination of all individuals on the grounds of race, color, and sex. So this is a universal policy. I think we stipulated in all of the constitution around the world that we have to have respect and equal treatment of all people regardless of their race, color, or sex. Now, let's take a look at our what's this own locality, the Philippines, national and local policies that looks at these issues. So we have the LGU. What is LGU? Local government unit. This goes down to our municipalities, to our towns, to our cities. Okay. So LGUs from different cities in the Philippines have been proactive in passing and filing ordinances banning LGBTQ discrimination. So presently, the anti-discriminatory bill in the Congress is still pending. This is expected to be signed by President Duterte at the end of his term. Yes. So prior to this bill, several LGUs have enacted ordinances and resolution to address these issues. Now, each locality, LGU, they can form their own policies. Okay, so mostly, yeah, it is being presided by the vice mayor and the councilors and the members of the board. How do you call it? Yeah, board member, but in the local sector, now, We have these examples from our locality. In Quezon City, the mayor is Joy Belmonte. We have these anti-discrimination employment enacted in 2004. An LGBT-friendly provision supplemented in Quezon City Gender Development Ordinance. And also in Albay, the present typhoon. So sad. Legazpi City, where my own volcano is affected by terrorism. Around, I think, in Binacuan,
Sir, paminawa po po, sir.
of their infrastructure were affected. Anyway, in Albay province, in Bacolod City, they passed this anti-discrimination ordinance, and also in Angeles City. But only passed, but they created a gay rights desk. In the Congress, Raymond Palatino, Representative Kabayan Party, filed resolution number 133, which seeks to investigate prejudicial, discriminatory, and unjust practices and policies against LGBT students implemented in schools in partnership with the government. So these are the policies, these are the laws that had been stipulated in our constitution and in our locality. Even though the anti-discriminatory bill was not yet approved, yet we have these local policies in our cities and municipalities. Then in May 2012, the DepEd issued Order number 40, or the DepEd Child Protection Policy, to guarantee the protection of children in schools from any form of violence, abuse, or exploitation, regardless of sexual orientation and gender identity. And in Thailand, I think this is just a recent news. I think a month ago, some of the teachers there were apprehended. Kasi sa Thailand, bawal na bawal you'd be spanking. So even in our country, so it's a big issue. So this is, I think, yeah, before 1960s, 80s, it was still accepted. But today, it's a different story. Effects of state discrimination society. What is the effect of this in the society? The state's treatment of LGBTQ individuals intensifies discrimination on the basis of SOGI within Philippine society and social institutions. Now, today, being young and not conforming to the gender role assigned to you increases the risk of discrimination and abuse, right? Especially for this community. This victimization is aggravated by the absence of support system and school policies addressing this concern. I think, yeah, bullying is very much what is happening with this, as well as the failure of schools to safeguard students from being abused by other students, staff, administrators, and teachers. The discrimination of LGBTQ students faced in schools not only violates the right to be free from discrimination, but prevents these individuals from the enjoyment of numerous other rights in the government as well. And yeah, this is happening. And I think people should be educated with this. And it goes down to elementary and high school level. We have these terms such as homophilia. Homophilia means stigma and prejudice towards the LGBT community of persons. So we have this term homophilia. Are very present with Filipino society, creating a dangerous climate of hostility towards the LGBT people. LGBT youth are often targeted by parents who, upon discovering their child's sexual orientation, feel compelled to inflict physical harm on them or frustration in an attempt to prevent their child. Like, for example, yeah, a parent would know that the sexual preference of their child is different from the assigned goal, then what do they do? They would prosecute the child, right? Gunalan, maayo. And yeah, this is happening today. And I think there are several factors for that. And discrimination, and right now, the Catholic Church is against against this discriminatory bill in the Congress because they would say that this would lead to the approval of same-sex marriage. But then what had happened is just the Pope, right? As you all know, the Pope announced support for the legality of same-sex marriage. And in the last days, this is already how they expected. There are two things that God instituted in the Garden of Eden. What were those two things? Marriage and the
Sabbath.
Sabbath, right? Marriage and the Sabbath. And in the end times, these are also the two institutions that the enemy, Satan, will attack. First, the Sabbath. Yes, that happened. And now is marriage. So it is happening just before our eyes. And then we have principles of the members of LGBTQ in the public life. Article 25 of the Convention provides for the right of each citizen to participate in public affairs. And I think we have a transgender Congress. How do you call Congressman? Congresswoman? Congressperson. I forgot her name. But there's a transgender Congress. She was this representing a party list. So to vote and to have equal access to public service in the country, these rights are provided free of unreasonable restriction and free from distinctions made on the basis of sex, which is mentioned above, includes sexual orientation. And then we have discrimination in the military. I think this is still happening. In the surface, Philippine military and PNP, Philippine National Police, they are adhering to non-discrimination of the Philippine Constitution, Article 2, by its declaration of openness to admit gays, lesbians, bisexual in military and public service. But then, upon closer inspection, what is happening is this: the additional conditions required from gay, lesbian, and bisexual applicants and cadets demonstrate lingering prejudices and negative stereotypes. So though PNP and Philippine military are open and accepting gay, lesbians, but yet according to the author, what is happening in the ground is that there are still lingering prejudice and discrimination that is happening in this institution. And I think, yeah, it is happening because this institution doesn't have control on how their applicants will behave. They don't have control whether they will discriminate or not, especially for the sexual applicants who are serving. We don't have control on that. And of course, we don't have a bill yet in the Congress. Also, the military's apparent strict adherence exclusively towards heterosexist gender, binary, masculine, or feminine roles discriminate against those of social police standards and considered as benchmark of what constitutes being decent, proper, and respectful. And lastly, the generalized negative stereotype of LGBT persons and the misconception that a person's sexual orientation defines one gender expression almost even already explained this. The identification of source of discrimination is vital so that you will know these acts are committed or performed by these social institutions, the respective actors, the unified output and social transparency. So as I discussed last time, there's a difference between sexual orientation, homosexual orientation, and homosexual practice. You should understand this. Of course, we are prone to commit sin. Okay, and there are factors of homosexual orientation. I have a friend, in fact, my roommate, his father died, and he doesn't have any motherly figure. Those who raised him were his aunts and his grandma. So he grew up with a feminine-like gesture, feminine-like manner, but yet he was not practicing homosexual activity. There's a difference between homosexual orientation and homosexual activity. It would only be a sin if you over fantasize upon it and if you practice it. Of course, we have people that have this orientation, but yet we have to look at them with the eyes of God. Okay, and there is always, there is always hope for a person to change. There is always we should have this accepting and inclusive attitude to be able to respect the duty and the right of the other individual. And we are running out of time. 10 minutes more. To summarize, Discrimination of people based on SOGI is widespread in the Philippines. International and local policies are in place to address this prevailing issue. Yet some institutions still spread this issue. And what is clear is that everyone, including students, must act to resolve this issue. Okay, so let us respect each other because all of us has our rights and privileges. So let us take a look, let us see other people in the eyes of God with accepting attitude, loving, and what's this? Caring attitude that you'll be able to look at the will of God. So this ends our discussion. Now for your activity for the next 15 minutes, I will stop the Zoom class and I will be sending a statement in the messenger. You open it and then you write your reaction on, as I said, the case of Pemberton. Remember the American serviceman who murdered a transgender. Okay, so I'll be sending to you the case of that, and I'll be asking you to write a statement whether you agree or disagree. If ever you agree, you state your reason. If ever you disagree, you state your reason. Okay? So I'll be sending that in the messenger right now. That statement,
Sir.
and you write on a paper or you type in your, what's this?
Pwede
In your phone or
EVN,
in
sir?
your laptop, your reaction. This is a reaction statement. Either you agree or disagree, and you submit it in my email. Okay?
Sir, saan
So
mong email, sir?
we will stop now and I will send the statement in the messenger, okay?
Sir, saan mong email?
rfalmosera@mvc.edu.ph. Where is the chat?
Sir, na-question si Alaban ganiya pa na sig pangutana, sir.
Wala na yun.
Almosera at mvc.edu. Wala ko PH. Ako lang i-type sa sa messenger na lang. Okay, so
Yes, sir.
Look at the messenger and write your reaction statement, okay? Thank you.
Sir.